Hi, I'm Art Kaplan. I'm at the NYU Grossman School of Medicine, where I direct the Division of Medical Ethics. Well, early in April, we had a really interesting decision by a group that usually doesn't make decisions like this. CMS, or the agency that runs Medicare, made a decision that it was not going to pay for a drug called Aduhelm. This is the drug made by Biogen, a Cambridge, Massachusetts company that showed a tiny bit of efficacy in slowing a little bit Alzheimer's disease and its progression in people with mild Alzheimer's. The drug had been approved earlier by the FDA, and Medicare usually does not get into any separate decisions. They just pay for what the FDA approves. However, in this case, Medicare was very, very nervous about paying for this drug. And I think rightly so. And I think they've made a decision that says, we're only going to pay for this if it is given to someone in a clinical trial, because we at Medicare are not convinced, even with FDA approval, that it brings very much in the way of benefit. Now, the FDA approved the drug against the advice of its own advisory council. A number of the members of that advisory council quit because they were so outraged that the FDA made a decision to approve Aduhelm. Part of the reason I think they did that was there isn't anything out there for patients with Alzheimer's. So tremendous pressure to make something available, but the clinical evidence was really weak. One trial showed a tiny amount of slowing of progression, a little bit in some people. The other trial that the company ran didn't show anything. It was not a very impressive body of evidence that led the FDA to make the approval. I think what's happened is FDA is starting to feel the heat from patient groups who see no options, people contacting them saying, I have a diagnosis, or I'm seeing my mom or my dad fade away, and I need something. Don't you have anything? And I think FDA yielded to pressure. I don't think that was right. I think we've got to stick with strong evidence. And one reason that that becomes very important is the initial price tag that Biogen put on this drug was $56,000 a year. And that's just for the drug. It's an IV administered drug, so there's going to be a lot more cost in terms of taking it because you have to go to an infusion center. And you need frequent screening because some people develop some really nasty side effects, brain swelling and other problems that require surveillance with PET scans, other forms of neurological scanning to watch for adverse events. $56,000, add up the cost of the scanning, add up the cost of the administration of the drug, you're probably looking at $100,000 per person, maybe per year. And even though the company then said, well, we'll chop the price to half of that, I think it was $26,000 after they got pressured, it's still a fortune. There are millions of people with Alzheimer's out there. You're talking about something that would add tens, if not hundreds of billions of dollars to the Medicare budget for what? A tiny benefit for a few with a very risky drug that is very difficult to administer and is dangerous to the point where it has to be monitored all the time. I don't think the evidence is there to say, let's spend a huge amount of the Medicare budget trying to get this possibly a tiny bit useful drug out there. Now, some will say, patients, maybe some of you physicians will say, well, look, anything, any hope when faced with this miserable, horrible disease is still worth it. But I don't think it is. We have to say, when we're spending public money with many other disease priorities out there, in addition to Alzheimer's in the Medicare budget, that we expect reasonable evidence that the drug will work. Medicare is saying, do some more clinical trials. They're not saying they wouldn't make it available at all, but they want to see more data. I think the data was weak, and I think Medicare is right to draw the line. It'll be interesting to see now if FDA more and more is feeling pressure from patient groups, companies to get things approved. Is it going to be the payers that are going to start to make the decisions about what's available what they're willing to pay for, whether they're government payers or private payers? And my answer is yes. I don't think that's the right stance to take. I think FDA should still be tough and look for evidence so we don't wind up chasing hope at huge public expense for very little return and some danger. But if FDA won't do it, then I think the payers down the road are going to be the place where battles are going to be fought about what's available to patients. I'm Art Kaplan at the Division of Medical Ethics at NYU's Grossman School of Medicine. Thanks for watching.